Grace and peace to each and every one. It is another great day that we've been favored to see. Father, we thank you now for all the rich blessings you bestowed upon each and every one of us. Thank you for all you have done, all you're doing, and all you're yet to do. Thank you for life, health, strength. Thank you for another day's mercy. Thank you for our Redeemer. Thank you for all that you are, and you have allowed us to see that you are. Now I ask that your spirit will move in the midst, open up your word to your people, that we may hear your word, receive your word, and be the better for it. Strengthen us the more. In the Savior's name it is, I pray. All right, all right, all right. Let us begin another night's study of the word. So, doing some things in the background a little bit, getting all things together. So, again, we are getting things together in the background, and the family is coming in, and it is again time in these days and times in which we are living. It is of the utmost importance that we draw closer and closer to the King of all kings. So much is going on in this world. Some want you to be on the blue side. Some want you to be on the red side. Some want you to be on the conservative side. Some want you to be on the liberal side. Some want you to be on the black side. Some want you to be on the white side. Some want you to be on the formally educated side. Some want you to be on the informally educated side. It does not matter which one of those sides that you're on. All that matters is that you are on the side of the King of Kings. Many would say that they serve the Savior, but they live for the world. They live for the blue, or they live for the red. They live for the black, or they live for the white. They live for the conservative, or they live for the liberal. They live for the formally educated. They live for the unformally educated. We must understand that no matter where we are, we must live as those who have the Spirit of the Most High within us. And we live honoring Him at all times and in all things. We live honoring our neighbor at all times and in all things. So if we're going to live lives that He is pleased with, we have to live according to the utterances that have come from His mouth, utterances that have gone from Him to the Redeemer unto the servants of the Most High. We have to learn to live as the sons and daughters of the Most High while we live on this earth. So many say that they follow the Redeemer, but one side or the other controls more of how they think than the word of the Most High, than the Spirit of the Most High. So if we're going to look and live the lives that He's pleased with, we must live as those who are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. Your earthly experience is the body in which you are living. So we must live as He would have for us to live, and not get caught up in the right side's agenda, not get caught up in the left side's agenda. Many know more about the right's agenda and the left's agenda than they know about the Father's agenda. We must be on His page and serve Him in a manner that's pleasing in His sight. He told us that He is jealous, so we must be on His page and not everybody else's page. So the assignment here is to build you up so that you can represent Him to the fullest as the breath is still in your body. We must build you up so you can live the kind of life that's pleasing in His sight. When you begin to live for Him, you're going to be isolated from other people. So many say they serve Him, but they follow the world's agendas. You either follow Him or you follow their agenda. There is no following Him and their agenda at the same time. When you follow their agenda, you're following the world's agenda. The enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy. The enemy deceives the whole world. So the enemy splits people up and gets them on the right side or the left side, and both sides keep them off of the King of Kings side. So we got to get to the place, my brothers and sisters, that you understand that your life must be built up. And to be built up, you have to grow up in him. You have to grow to be the spiritual being that he created you to be when the breath of life entered into your body. And we have to live what he considers to be righteous lives. So many say they serve him, but they don't live righteous lives. So our lives tell the story of whether we are walking with him or whether we are not. So as we began this study some time ago, we're still honing in on commands and commandments, and we're still honing in on living righteous lives. And when we hone in on living righteous lives, we got to understand, and so many will not get this. They say they have it, but they really don't get it. We have to understand that mankind is constantly in a war. Many want to be on the Father's side, but they don't want to go to war. This is a spiritual war that we are fighting. We have a spirit, we have a soul, we have a body. The body is of the earth, earth to earth, ashes to ashes. From earth you have been taken, and from the earth your body shall go back. But where is it that your soul will dwell? In eternity. So we have to begin to live in eternity while we are in time. Okay, so time popped up in the midst of eternity. There's everlasting to everlasting. So we have to get to the place that we understand that we are to live as eternal beings. Okay, so we have to follow the word, and knowing that following the word is obedience. The world follows the agendas of the world. The world follows the prince of the power of the air. The world follows those who kill, steal, and destroy. Those on the right side kill, steal, and destroy. Those on the left side kill, steal, and destroy. So if they kill, steal, and destroy, whose team are they really on? Their words may say that they're on the king's team, but they're killing folks, they're stealing from folks, and they're destroying the character of folks. That is not a sign that lets people know that you are on the king's side. Okay, so we got to get this in our hearts, minds, and souls, and not let the media push us to the right side or to the left side. They both have an agenda. They push you sometimes to the right, they push you sometimes to the left. They're still pushing you where they have for you to go, and that is away from the King of Kings. Don't get caught up in the agendas. Okay, so we have to follow the word, and when we follow the word, we begin to get spiritual discernment. When we have discernment, we begin to see what is really going on. But if we don't follow the word, if we don't surrender to the Spirit of the Most High, we're not going to be able to see what is going on, and then we fall victim to the left side or the right side. He doesn't want you to fall victim to anyone. He doesn't want you to fall victim to either side. He's come that you might have life, and to have life more abundantly. He's giving you power. He's giving you authority. He's giving you dominion. He's giving you the ability to see the right from the wrong. Okay, so we got to follow the word, and we have to understand the big picture we've been trying to share with you, excuse me, over the last several weeks, that when you look at the command or the commands, you have to understand that there was an utterance, there was something that was said, and what was said was an instruction. What was said was a directive. And when he makes a statement, it behooves us to follow the statement. When he gives a directive, it's in our best interest to follow the directive. And so how we started this, we showed you some directives that were given to the first man. We showed you some directives that was given to the first family. We showed you some directives that was given to a particular nation, a particular nation. And that nation was to represent him. That first family was to represent him. That first man was to represent him at all times and all things, created in his image. created he male and female. And when he created them, everything that he created was good. Okay? So he created us to walk and talk and have a relationship with him. He created us to be his friend, understanding that he is the ultimate authority, understanding that he had a representative that has always been with mankind and has always spoken for him. So we have to know who that representative is, and we have to develop a relationship with him. And we develop a relationship with that representative, then we can develop a relationship with him, because no one has ever seen him. They've heard someone else speak for him in accordance with the scriptures. Okay, so we went in to show you some illustrations, and past weeks we looked into scriptures and we looked at how the Lamb viewed commands, how the Lamb held on to the commands, how the Lamb did not come to change any command that was given. And it's interesting when we understand this. John had a revelation, and there was a vision in heaven, and John saw a scroll, and John saw that there was no one above the earth, on the earth, or below the earth that was worthy to take the scroll out of he who is the King of Kings, the everlasting, the Ancient of Days. And John began to get sad, and someone told John, John, don't be sad. There is one who's worthy to take the scroll, and the Lamb who was prepared before the foundation of the earth is the one who was worthy to take the scroll. That same Lamb was the one who led Israel out of Egypt. That Lamb was the same one who was a cloud and a pillar of fire guiding Israel. That Lamb is the same one who could demonstrate, or who could provide punishment when ones don't obey the word, the utterances, the direction, the instruction of the Most High. He's the same one. And at the end, when we follow the scriptures, he's going to be the one who sit and going to judge each and every one based on how they live their lives. People say a whole lot, but then they don't live what they say. So we have to understand that this Lamb was the same one that was with the people called Israel when they came out of Egypt. This Lamb was the same one who was with Jacob, who was with Isaac, who was with Abraham, who was with Noah. The same one all throughout. So if he is the representative and he is the one who is the true representative of the Most High, how will he change what he has said in the old? He can't. And he did not. And he would not. So we have to begin to truly get into the scriptures and believe the scriptures and follow the scriptures. And there's so much meat embedded in the scriptures that we don't have to go to all these other folks and try to figure out what's going on in the scriptures. All we have to do is spend time in the scriptures and listen to the Spirit. And we will begin to see and understand what is going on. When I say go to all these other places, so many have come up with their own interpretations of the scriptures. And there's really only one true interpretation. And one interpretation is correct. All others are wrong. So we look at the scriptures from a historical perspective. And we look at the times in which we are living, and we use the scriptures to show us what's going on. The Spirit will open up, so the spirit of discernment will begin to dwell upon us and dwell within us and open our eyes so that we can see. Too many are doing things that should have stopped before the pandemic came on. The whole world was shut down. And now people are going back to doing the same things they were doing before the world was shut down. The world was shut down for a reason. Prophecy is occurring and people don't see it. They don't see it because people tell them that no longer are any prophecies occurred. Everything has already occurred. And that's not what the scriptures say. So the Lamb has given us the word. The Lamb has not changed the word that was given under the Tanakh. He just opened it up so we would be able to understand it. There have been men and women and particular groups that have understood the scriptures. And so they lived according to the understanding that they had. They separated themselves from the world and did what it was that the king had for them to do. That is what we are to do. So many will say, I don't need to follow what's listed in Exodus chapter 20. Brother, sister, baby, don't believe these devils. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The devil is a liar and a murderer from the very beginning. And those who follow the lies are the children of the enemy. We don't have time to be sugarcoating anything. We don't have time to be playing around. Too much is going on in the world, and not enough people know to get their house in order. So when we talk about the commands, we have to understand that the commands are an utterance. We showed you that, and we're going to talk a little bit about it tonight to show you once and again so that you can really get it. Folks want to believe anybody and everybody, and all these folks got all the education, but they don't have enough education to know that when they're wrong, or they don't have enough humility to say I was wrong and I need to get in alignment. So the Lamb didn't change. When he came, born through Mary, lived the life as a man, he didn't change anything that was written in the old. He gave greater understanding of it to those who had a desire to know, and still gives understanding to those who have a desire to know. Some may say, wow, you spent a lot of time on some of this stuff that's not directly listed, but we have to speak as the king gives us so that we can warn people and prepare people for the times and seasons in which we are living. King says, before he returns, it's going to be just like it was in the days of Noah. And if you ask the average person that calls himself a believer, you ask them what was going on in the days of Noah, right before Noah went into the ark, many cannot tell you. So if we don't know what was going on then, we're not going to know when he returns. Okay? Now, let's look at Matthew chapter number 5, verse 17. And what I have on the screen, I have the Holman Christian Standard Bible version for you, and then I have the literal translation version. And what we want you to understand is that in the Holman Christian Standard Bible, Matthew chapter 5, verse 17, are the words of the Messiah. And the Messiah says it this way: don't assume that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Okay? He came to complete them. He came to execute the office that he was assigned. He came to satisfy the requirement of the law. He came to fully preach, fully perfect, and fully supply the understanding that we need to follow the word that was given. And so from a Hebraic perspective, the literal translation of it is, moreover, Yeshua Mashiach said to his Talmudim and taught ones, do not think that I came to throw down the Torah and the prophets. On the contrary, I came to confirm. So when you fully preach something, you're confirming what you are preaching. When you confirm something, you are walking in the assignment that you have been called, and you're fully executing the office or the assignment that you have been given. When you are confirming something, you are fully satisfying what is required of you. That is what he did. He didn't come to destroy. He didn't come to tear him down. He didn't come to change him. He came to show us how to fully walk as a son or daughter of the Most High. He came to show us. The instructions were given. So how do we satisfy those instructions? By being fully obedient, by getting an understanding and living out the life. It's called the way. So I've shared with you before that John chapter 14, verse 6 is a lot more powerful than many will give the understanding of it. Okay? He says he's the way, the truth, and the life. Let's pause right there, because we know the rest of it says, no one comes to the Father except by me. So if he is the word, if he's full embodiment of the word, then the expectation is that we're going to dwell with him as he dwells. We're going to live as he lived. How is that? In the spirit and in truth, fully allowing the word to take root inside of us, allowing the spirit to give us understanding. And now when the word has taken root inside of us and the spirit has given us understanding, we live in the wisdom of the word, and the wisdom is displayed in the way that we live our lives. We put it into practice. So we got to understand that the word was uttered. The word was given as a directive, as instructions for a man, for a family, for a nation. Moses had the assignment to teach Israel the word. The utterances were given, and now it's time to teach what was given. Again, many would say it's the law of Moses. They're saying it's the instruction of Moses. They're saying it's the directive of Moses. Moses was just the messenger. It did not originate with Moses. Moses' assignment was to give it as he was given it. So we have to understand that the utterance came from on high, and it was given unto Moses for Moses to give to other people. Moses was the messenger, but the utterance came from on high. So if it's an utterance, if it was what was said from on high, then Moses' assignment was to receive it, put it into practice in his life, and then give it to the people that he was assigned to give it to. Why are we going back to Moses? Because Moses told the people that there would be a prophet raised up from amongst your brethren like me, and him it is that you shall listen to. That's the Redeemer. That's a powerful statement that Moses made, and many don't grasp that statement. Moses' way was about the word that was given unto him. The way of the Redeemer was about the word that was given unto him. The Redeemer says it this way: when you read through what we call the Gospels, the good news is, I say what I have heard. I do what I have seen done. I only do what my Father has for me to do. Not what he asked me to do, but what he has directed me to do. I came because he sent me. I came because he prepared a body for me. See, we got to go back to the Lamb, because folks say they love the Lamb and they follow the Lamb and they serve the Lamb, but they don't do what the Lamb did. The Lamb didn't come to change anything. The Lamb came to show us the way. And what are we supposed to do? Live the way, not do whatever our flesh tells us to do. Okay? Now, we looked at John chapter 15, and then last week and a couple of weeks ago, we focused on verses 10, 12, and 14. And now we're going to hone in on verses 10, 12, 14, and 15. I got a typo up top. I have the verse listed, but I don't have it as John chapter 15, verse 10, 12, 14, and 15. So when we looked at this last week and prior weeks, we focused on my commands as listed. We focused on the words my command from verse 10. We focused on my Father's commands from verse 10. We focused on my command in verse 12. And we focused on I command you in verse 14. And we went back and we showed you in the scriptures, when you talk about that command, we have to understand that the command is a directive or instruction, and that directive or instruction had to be uttered. So something is said, and now the command comes into view. Okay? So we have to understand what was uttered. And here's something powerful that you need to understand as we begin to look at the friend. We looked at the lamb and we started looking at the friend on last week. Now we want to be a friend of the Messiah. We want to be a friend of the Most High. Okay? But there are things that we have to do in order to be his friend. And we're going to show you that as we look at the life of Abraham. Okay? Now, verse 15 in John chapter 15, Holman Christian Standard Bible reads, I do not call you slaves. If you read the King James, it's going to say, I do not call you servants. Because a servant doesn't know what his master or Lord is doing. I have called you friends because I have made known to you everything I have heard from my Father. The Father uttered, the Redeemer heard, and the Redeemer let the Father's servants know what it is that the Father has said. Did I go too fast? All right. Let me read this again and let me slow down and we open this up so you can really get it, because we're focusing in on what is said from the King of all kings, and how the King of all kings says it to the Messiah, who is his ambassador, who is his representative from Genesis all the way to Revelation. I do not call you slaves anymore. And we have to move away from the Eurocentric perspective of slaves and how it was applied upon our people. When it was originally written, it was about a servant, someone who was serving somebody else for a time or a season because of something that they owed that particular one. Okay? I do not call you slaves anymore, because a slave doesn't know what his master is doing, his Lord is doing, his master teacher is doing. I have called you friends because I have made known to you everything I have heard from my Father. See, this is why, part of the reason why we took you back into Revelation chapter number 1. And you see the hierarchy in Revelation chapter 1. The Father gave it to the Messiah. The Messiah gave it to a servant or a messenger, and the messenger revealed it unto John, who is a servant. So the messenger was a servant, and John is a servant. Okay? So the Redeemer reveals what the Father has uttered, what the Father has said. And that utterance or that saying is the instruction or the directive for us to live the correct way. So we want to live righteously, but if we don't know what the Father has said, how are we going to live righteously? If we haven't heard what the Messiah has said, how are we going to live righteously? We can live any kind of way, but any kind of way is not pleasing in his sight. He can't stand to look upon sin. He is holy. He is an all-consuming fire. So we have to learn to live the right way, the righteous life, because he is righteous. Scriptures say, be ye holy, for the Most High is holy. Y'all tracking with me? So when we look at commands, we look at my Father's commands, and we look at my command in this particular passage of John chapter 15, and we look at the fact that the Messiah says in John chapter 15, verse 14, he said, you are my friends if you do what I command you. You are my friends if you do what I instruct you. You are my friends if you do what I direct you. And so if he is doing the directing and he is the representative of the Father, it's the Father who's doing the directing through him. It's the Father who's doing the instructing through him. So we have to get away from looking at this word is a man's word. It is the word that has come from the King of all kings, the Ancient of Days. He who was, is, and is to come. So he sends his ambassador into the world to represent him at all times and in all things and to speak for him. And there was a time, my brothers and my sisters, and I think it's in Exodus chapter number 24, when Moses, Joshua, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders went up to meet the God of Israel. And they actually had dinner with the God of Israel. Let me go back. And just so you can get this in proper perspective and take this down, what I quoted is found in Exodus chapter 24, and it begins in verse 9. And I'm going to read a few verses from this for you so you can get what I'm trying to share with you on tonight, okay? Exodus chapter 24, begin at verse 9, reads as follows. Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel. Verse 10 is important, brothers and sisters. And they saw the God of Israel. And listen to this now. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of a sapphire stone, and as it were, the body of heaven in his clearance. Listen now, verse 11. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel, he laid not his hand. Also, they saw God and did eat and drink. Verse 12. And the Most High said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone and a law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. Okay. Exodus chapter 24, verse 9 through verse 12. And let me read verse 13, because I said a name earlier, and you didn't see his name, but his name is listed in verse 13. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua, and Moses went up into the mount of God. So now, it was not only Moses that was able to see the Most High of Israel. Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Joshua, and the 70 elders. These 70 elders are the same one that the Most High took of the spirit that was on Moses and placed upon them, and all those elders prophesied. See, it's powerful when we understand who the elders were and who they were supposed to be going forward, and how they were to work with Moses to lead the people in the instructions and directives, the utterances, the sayings of the Most High. See, it was not just Moses that was able to see him. It was the leaders. The leaders are supposed to be able to see and have a relationship and walk and talk with the Most High and have spiritual discernment from the Most High to see the times and seasons in which we are living. But if the leaders say his commands are no longer valid, if the leaders say I don't have to listen to daddy, if the leaders say that the Messiah came to change what daddy said, then Houston, the people are in trouble. Because the ones that are supposed to be leading them and teaching them are actually blind. And if the blind lead the blind, they all fall in a ditch. Some would say that was the pre-incarnate Messiah. They want to qualify things. We need to know that it was the Most High that was leading Israel the entire time. He spoke then, and he's speaking now. But do we hear him speaking now? So we got to understand he didn't change anything. The Most High of Israel was with Israel. So they were able to have dinner with him, and they heard him. When if you ever heard that before, you ever seen that before, your favorite pastor ever showed you that before. But we have to get to the place that we understand we should have a desire to be his friend. And the Messiah tells us in John chapter 15, verse 14, you are my friends if you do what I command you. So if we don't do what he commands us, can we be his friend? No. Many will not call themselves his friend because they don't do what he says do. They have no desire to do what he said do. We're in the season, brothers. He has always wanted a relationship with us. He created us in his image. Adam and Eve walked and talked with him in the garden until they disobeyed his voice. He spoke then. It's all in his word, and he's speaking now. Are you able to hear him now? Or do you allow man, woman, boy, girl, denomination to keep you from hearing from him? So the Lamb definitely obeyed what he said. How do we know the Lamb obeyed? Look at the second sentence in verse 15 of John chapter 15. He says, I've called you friends because I have made known to you everything. He didn't hold anything back. Everything that I have heard from my Father. So the assignment was to give them the utterances, give them the word, give them the instructions of the Father. And he says, I made everything known to you. So this is how we know that he obeyed him. From his own mouth, not from anybody else's mouth, from his mouth. His own words laid out in the scriptures for you to get an understanding and to begin to put into practice and to begin to follow the way. Folks say they love the Redeemer. They love their Christ, but they don't do what their Christ did. How can you love him if you don't do what he did? How can you love him if you don't do what he said do? Okay. Now, for those that are able to see, what I've done is the next slide, I've kept John chapter 15, verse 10, 12, 14, and 15 here, but I've gone back and I've put here the word, the Strong's Hebrew word 559, which is amar, which is defined as to utter or say. And in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, and the Most High said, let there be light. Because he spoke, light had to come into existence. Then in Genesis chapter 1, verse 6, the Most High said, let there be a firmament. And the firmament had to appear because he spoke. Because of his power, because of his authority, because of his dominion, because there's no one that's greater than him. The Creator said, firmament come into existence, and it appeared. Isn't it something when we truly dig into the scriptures and we get to the place to understand that he's given us the power to create? He's given us the power to have dominion. He's given us the power to rule. He's given us the power and authority to be his representatives in the earth at all times and in all things. You don't believe? He created the animals and he brought the animals to Adam. And Adam had the assignment to name the animals. And whatever Adam named the animals, the power to give a name, whatever he named the animal, that was the name of that animal or that thing. That's a power that he delegated to man who was in his image. man who was walking in accordance with the instruction that he had given until he disobeyed him. See, he's trying to restore this relationship with us. And the only way that relationship can be restored is if we hear what he has said and we obey what he has said. That's what this teaching, this study is about and has been about and will be about. Because many would say they love the Christ and they follow Christ, but they don't do what his daddy said do. They disregard the words, the instructions that are in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, and say, all I got to do is follow Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, some are Acts, everything that Paul said, and I don't really have to follow what James said or what Jude said or the epistle to the Hebrews or even Revelation. So I pick and choose what I want to follow, and I create my own doctrine, and I teach people my doctrine, and I don't teach people the doctrine of the Most High. What does that do? That's a thief. Some do it knowingly, and some do it unknowingly. That's why I said the utmost importance that you spend time in the word, you spend time in prayer, you spend time allowing him to download into your heart, mind, and soul, so he can show you who's the devil and who's the true child of the Most High. So many are divided right now, right side, left side, red side, blue side. Politics has consumed their lives. If the Messiah was here right now, he wouldn't be on the right side or the left side, because y'all supposed to be, we supposed to be on his daddy's side. And folks leading folks astray, lying to folks, telling folks stuff that's not true. So we should have a desire to be his friend. Okay? Now, the Father's friend's view on commands. This is a friend. He is called a friend of the Most High. Okay? Now, last week, we took you into Genesis chapter 12. We looked at verses 1 through 5. And we showed you where in verse number 1 of Genesis chapter 12, the Most High spoke to Abram, or the Most High said to Abram, go. And Abram went. He said, go in verse 1. And in verse 4, it shows us that Abram went as he was told. And we have to understand that when the Most High speaks, we have to do what he says do. He told Abram to leave his folks, and Abram left his folks. Abram went as he was told. And many times today, he wants to speak to us, but we have idols in our way, and we won't hear from him. What do you mean? We make husbands, wives, children, mothers, fathers, grandparents, denominations, organizations, houses, cars, jobs, neighborhoods. We make all these things. They become idols. And we care more about those things than doing what he has told us to do. So now, because we are so busy, we can't hear when he's speaking unto us. But Abram was not too busy. Abram was not so in love with everyone else that he could not hear and listen and obey what was spoken unto him. People want to be in the bloodline, but they must understand that only those who obey reap what was given unto Abram. Okay? So we looked at Abram on last week in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through 5. And we got the teaching, we got the understanding, and I pray that you get this understanding. What did the Most High say to Abram, and how did Abram respond? What did he say? Yah said, go. Yah said, leave your relatives and your father's house. How did Abram respond? Abram went as he was told. It's that simple, y'all. That's how simple it is. See, it's the utterance. People get caught up in it's the law, it's the command, but that it had to be uttered. So it is the word from the mouth of the Most High. So we have to truly understand that it's his word that was uttered unto us, if it was uttered unto you. We must understand that when he says something, we are to do it. Okay? The Messiah is a perfect example of obedience. So you saw him, and he's a witness to hearing the word and obeying the word. Now we're giving you another witness, Abram, who heard the word and obeyed the word. And we're going to give you exhibits or witnesses throughout the life of Abram, where Abram heard and Abram obeyed. And we're showing you this so that you can truly get that we should be obedient to the word of the Most High. We should surrender to the spirit of the Most High so that we can understand and we can live. He wants us to love him with all hearts, minds, and souls. He wants to love our neighbors as ourselves. And he wants us as much as possible to live at peace with all men. He wants us to help the poor. He wants us to help the widows. He wants us to help the orphans. He wants us to speak truth to power. Too many love the power of the world and they ain't going to speak truth to the power. Because they speak truth to the power, there's some stuff that they're not going to get. There's some positions that they got to move out of. But when your mind and your eyes and your heart are focused on having a relationship and being in relationship with the Most High, you're going to say what he has for you to say. You're going to go where he has for you to go. You're going to not go where he has for you not to go. Okay? So let us get into Genesis chapter 15, verse 1 through 5. And we looked at this on last week. And in verse 1, you see the word of the Most High came to Abram as a vision and told him to not be afraid. He says, I'm your shield. Your reward will be very great. His reward will be very great. Why? Because he obeyed his voice. He heard what the Most High said and he did what the Most High said. People want to get rewards, but they don't want to do what he said do. They don't want to go through the challenging times. And so Abram having a conversation, he's a friend, he's in relationship with him, and he's heard what he said, but in his mind, in his heart, in his culture, in that time of day, you were blessed when you had a male seed, someone that could carry your name. And Abram says, you say all this to me, but you ain't even give me an offspring. And the word of the Most High came to him, said, don't you worry about that servant that you got in your house. You're going to get a seed come through your body. That seed going to be your heir. See, when you have a relationship with the Most High, when you have a relationship with his ambassador, when you have a relationship with his representative, you can have a candid conversation. You can be truthful. He already knows that he hadn't given you one. Have the conversation. See, you got to have a relationship. Too many don't have a relationship. Folks say they know him, but they don't have a relationship with him. Trying to show you the relationship that the Messiah had with him. Trying to show you the relationship that Abram had with him. Trying to show you how the Messiah obeyed him. Trying to show you how Abram obeyed him. So there's some lessons that we can learn from this conversation. The word of Yah will come to you. The word of Yah will show you the message. The word of Yah will speak to you, and the word of Yah will encourage you. See, too many want him and want his blessings, but they want to do what this world says do. The world is in opposition to the word. The world is in disobedience, and the word is all about obedience. Too many get caught up in denominational relationships and the doctrines of denominations, the doctrine of different schools to which they go, and they hold true to those doctrines, and they don't hold true to the doctrines that come from the Most High. The doctrines are the teachings. They get their catechisms and they follow their catechisms, and their catechisms carry more weight than the truth and the spirit of the Most High. And you won't know it's the truth if you don't dig. You won't know it's the truth if you don't ask him to show you the truth. In a time and seasons, we don't have time to play, brothers and sisters. It's time to be real about it, because only a few are going to turn to him and serve him in spirit and in truth. And many are on the broad path, and they look like they're on the right path. Okay? Now, let us look at Genesis chapter 15, verse 6 and 7. And we looked at them last week. And many will say that they believe. And what many don't understand is there's more to it than this easy believism that many want people to believe. Okay, so we dug into it, and we're going to dig a little bit tonight. We're not going to dig as far as we dug last week, but we're just going to open up what is in the text. So Genesis chapter 15, verse 6 says, and Abram believed Yah, and he credited it to him as righteousness. And you got to get this part now. I'm going to read this, and we're going to open it up, and we're going to look at that word righteousness, because it started this night out. We're talking about living a righteous life. Okay? Abram believed Yah, and he credited it to him as righteousness. He believed him, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Okay, let's look at this word believe. So last week when we looked at this word believe, from Genesis chapter 15, verse 6, we looked at the interlinear as we pulled it from BibleHub.com. And then the word is the Strong's Hebrew word 539, which is the word aman. And that word is defined as to confirm support. Remember earlier, we talked about the Messiah in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. He came to confirm. So we need to understand this word confirm and the original context, because sometimes we use English words and it doesn't always relay the context that is in the text, so we can open it up and get a greater understanding and then live our lives according to the understanding of the scriptures. Okay? Now, when we dig and we look at the word from a contextual perspective, we saw confirm support. It's also to stand firm. It's to trust, believe, and it's to trust and believe of a person, and the usual construction with the Most High as found in Genesis chapter 15 and 6. So the question gets to be, when you say you believe, do you trust him? When you say you believe, do you obey him? Because just having an easy believism will not get you where you think it's going to get you. When you believe, that means that you have now trusted him. And because you believe, you are now obeying him. And this is your faith. And it's not by your words, it's by your actions. When you trust and obey, you demonstrate your faith. Many will say that they have faith, but they have no works. See, that's why James could say, because James had a greater understanding than people will give him credit for. Because they'll say there are no longer any works, but your trust and your obedience is your works. That is your faith. Faith without works is dead. So if you don't trust him and you don't obey him, do you believe him? You want to be counted righteous, but you don't trust and you don't obey. You don't demonstrate your faith. Okay. Abram trusted and obeyed Yah, and he credited it to him as righteousness. He trusted and obeyed, yes. He said go, and he left. He said go, he heard the word, he received the word, and because he trusted him, his obedience was demonstrated when he left. Trust and obey. There is no other way. So when people just say that they believe and they have not put their trust in him, then they don't really believe. When people say they believe and then they say they trust, but they don't obey, then they really have not believed. Abram is an example of belief. He trusted, he obeyed, he demonstrated faith in the Most High. This verse tells us that Abram stood firm in trusting God. Most folks are not going to stand firm. Most folks are wishy-washy. That's why we have to spend time and we got to open up the book so that people can get the right understanding, because many are confused and continue to be confused. People want an easy believism, but there is no trust and no obedience. And you got to know that his expectation is that you're going to trust him and you're going to obey him. Abram was put to the test. Genesis 12. Abram, go. Now, the word has come. The word has been said. The word has been uttered. Now, what's Abram going to do? This is where the struggle comes in for many people. People hear the word, but what are they going to do? Are they going to continue living their flesh? Or are they going to move out like he told them to move out? This is where this internal war goes on, and we've been trying to share with you. You heard the word, but are you going to trust and obey the word? Many times people get together at a Bible study, at a congregational gathering. They hear the word, but they don't trust and they don't obey. But they say they have faith. Do you really have faith if you don't trust and obey? Do you really believe if you don't trust and obey? Abram is an example. Abram is a witness. You want the Most High to be with you, then you trust him and obey him. And he has no other choice than to shower down his blessings, because that's what he said in his word. And he's not like a man that he gonna lie. So you got to get to the place, brothers and sisters. People trust organizations, people trust denominations, but people don't trust the King of all kings. They can't get you where you need to be. They can get you in positions with man, but does it get you where you need to be with the King? Someone say, well, why are you talking about denominations? Because the scripture says there should be no schisms among you. What are schisms? Schisms are separations. There's many that had problems with sectarianism. Sectarianism is separations, different ones from different places. Example in the scriptures, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. People hold on to their denominational doctrine, but they don't hold on to the scriptures. So he's saying, come out of schisms, come out of sectarianism, come out of your denominational thinking, open your heart, open your mind, hear me, do what I have said, do. See, as we're drawing close to the end, based on the prophecies that are written in the scriptures, in the book of Daniel, it says that knowledge shall increase and people will go to and fro. And things that Daniel had to close up are now opened up. So he's revealing the things that are going on in the end times. But if people don't know that we're living in the end times, if people are holding out for a rapture, not knowing that that rapture doctrine is not scripturally sound, because what's going to happen based on the scriptures when the king comes, you're going to meet him in the air and you're going to go to Jerusalem and he's going to reign on the earth for 1,000 years. And everybody's not going to get up. So we have to cast away all those doctrines that are out of alignment with the scriptures and hear the scriptures, hear the word, and obey him. So you want to be righteous, you got to obey. This is what the scriptures say. Not what people tell you, what the scriptures say. Okay? Verse 7, he says, he also said to him, I am Yah who brought you from Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to possess. Abram trusted and obeyed, and because he trusted and obeyed, the Most High credited to Abram as righteousness. And then he told him that he was the one who brought him from Ur to give him this land as a possession. That's what he said. So we got to get to the place that we're listening, we're hearing the utterances, and we're following the voice of the Most High. You're tracking with me? Perilous times that we're in, he says, prepare your house. He said, get your own house in order. Get ready. He's getting ready to get rocky. Genesis chapter 26, verse 1 through 3. Still talking about Abram, who's a friend. And don't you want to be a friend of the Most High? All of us should have a desire to be his friend. And we showed you what the Messiah said in John chapter 15, verse number 14. He says, and I'm reading this from the King James Version, he says, ye are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. So when folks say you ain't got to do anything, are they contradicting the words of the one that they call their Christ? I submit to you, yes. Because he says, ye are my friends if you do whatever I command you. So that means you got to do something, right? Well, all you got to do is believe. Okay, so what does believe mean? It means trusting and obeying. Oh, so when you obey, that means you got to do something. Nah. Yes, it does. He didn't change anything. Genesis chapter 26, verse 1 through 3. I'm reading from the Holman Christiana Bible. There was another famine in the land, in addition to the one that had occurred in Abraham's time. Now, his name has been changed from Abram to Abraham at this time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, at Gerar. Yah appeared to him and said, here you go with that utterance again, said, do not go down to Egypt. Isaac was in the land, and there was a famine, and Isaac is looking to move his family to a place where they got water and they got food. But the Most High appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land that I tell you about. Stay in this land as a foreigner, and I will be with you and bless you. For I will give all these lands to you and your offspring, and I will confirm the oath. Listen to what he said, that I swore to your father Abraham. Now, we've been talking to you about the Most High speaking. We've been talking to you about him giving utterances, his words. So he said, do not go down to Egypt. That's a command that he gave to Isaac. Do not go down to Egypt. Command number 1. Command number 2, live in the land that I tell you about. Command number 3, stay in this land as a foreigner. See, if Isaac would just trust and obey him, demonstrate his faith by staying where he's been told to stay, the Most High says, I will bless you and I will be with you. Said the right way, I will be with you and I will bless you. Because I gave this land to your daddy as a possession. And he says, for all these lands, are you to you and your offspring. Get this part now. I will confirm the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I couldn't swear by anybody greater, so I swore by myself. And I'm confirming the oath that I made to Abraham. I'm confirming the promise that I made to your daddy. All you have to do is not be in your flesh. You hear me and you do what I have told you to do. Don't go down to Egypt. Stop looking to depend on those who are of the world. You trust in me, and I will be with you as I was with your daddy. I told your daddy that I was going to give him this land. And it's your land. All you got to do is live in the land. This ain't your folks that are around you. You are a foreigner in this land, but this land, I promised him, it's yours. See, we got to begin to hear him. See, sometimes we're going to feel like we need to do what the world says do. But have we sought him? Have we heard him speak to us? Many made some terrible mistakes a few years ago doing what the world said do. And the time has come where they're going to see it. But you got to stand still. He said this to Isaac, stand still right where you are. Trust me. Obey me. Show me your faith. And if you do that, just as I credited to your daddy as righteousness, I'm going to credit to you as righteousness. So you want to live in righteousness? You got to trust and obey. Can't just say you believe and you don't trust him. Can't just say you believe and you ain't obeying him. A whole lot of folks going to be sadly mistaken. Go look at Matthew chapter 7, start at verse 20 and go down to about verse 24. Matthew chapter 7, verse 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So we're moving from Abram to Isaac, but the Most High is using Abram as an example. I will confirm the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. Okay. Let's look at verses 4 through 6. Genesis chapter 26. He's talking to him, speaking to him. He says, I'll make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky. Didn't he say that to his daddy? Yep. I will give your offspring all these lands. And get this part that he said now. He says, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring. Oh, man. I'm going to jump somewhere and come right back real quick. When you look at this, you can go look in the book of Exodus and chapter number 19 in particular, and verses 4 through 6, and his offspring was supposed to be the priest of the earth. They were supposed to be the one to show all the other nations how to serve and worship and obey the Most High. Okay, let's get on back to Genesis chapter 26, verse 4. All the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring. Look at verse 5 now, y'all. Listen, listen, listen. He says, because Abram listened to my voice, Abraham kept my commandment. Abraham listened to my voice. Abraham kept my mandate. Abraham kept my commands. Abraham kept my statutes. Abraham kept my instructions. Can I share something with y'all? For many people that will say that they don't have to follow the 10 commandments, this is before Israel is a nation. Esau and Jacob are not even born. So if Jacob ain't born, that means his sons aren't born. If his sons aren't born, that means Moses is not born. If Moses is not born, the law that folks like to run against is not in existence. But Abraham has a commandment or commands to follow. Abram has statutes to follow. Abram has instructions to follow. And Abram has a mandate. So we try to show y'all in this teaching with commands and commandments. Because folks will run back to Exodus and they never go back to Genesis. And folks will say that they follow the faith of Abraham, or Abraham is the father of their faith. But Abraham listened to the voice. Abraham kept the mandate. Abraham kept the commands. Abraham kept the statutes. Abraham kept the instructions. Folks will tell you they ain't got to do that, but they following Abraham. They in the family of Abraham, but they ain't doing what Abraham did. Did not the Messiah say that to some folks in the book of John? He said, if you were Abraham's seed, you would do what Abraham did. Abraham wouldn't do what you devils doing. So we took you back here to understand, because many don't listen. See, people will hear, but people won't listen. See, when you listen, you hear it, you take in, you engage in what you have heard. Many will go and they hear preachers preach, they hear preachers teach, they ain't paying a bit of attention. They hear them, but they ain't listening. Folks got to begin to start listening. That's why the world is in the predicament that it's in, because folks ain't listening. And many out here prophet lying, say things gonna get better, and that ain't the way Scripture says it. Things gonna get worse based on the Scriptures. So don't y'all be listening to these devils telling y'all that stuff gonna get better. I claim this, I claim that. You keep claiming. There are folks that are fighting against a hand that they cannot win. So Isaac settled in Gerar. The word came to Isaac, told Isaac to stay, told Isaac to dwell as a foreigner in this land, this your land, and I'm going to keep the oath that I gave to your daddy. And he says, I'll make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky. I'll give your offspring all these lands, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed or favored by your offspring. Your offspring, those ones that will obey my voice, the nations will be blessed because they are in their presence, because they are leading them in the right way how to worship. Can I give you one nugget while we're right here? Because it's dropped in my spirit. Write down Romans chapter 3 and read verse 1 and 2. And see what Paul is saying to those who are in that area of Rome at that time. See what Paul says about the mysteries, the oracles, who they were given to. They weren't given to everybody. They were given to certain people. Because Abraham listened to my voice and kept my mandate, my commands, my statutes, and my instructions. So, the question to you, my brothers and my sisters, is, what did Yah need Isaac to understand? He needed Isaac to understand that Abraham listened to him. He needed Isaac to understand that Abraham knew his voice. Because Scripture says, because Abraham listened to my voice. Too many folks got too many voices that they listening to. And all these voices are drowning out the voice of the Most High. And you can't hear what he's saying unto you. Or you can't get your heart in order for him to speak to you because you're listening to everybody else. What did he need Isaac to understand? That Abraham kept his mandate. He could be the father of the faith because he kept what was given unto him. He heard and he listened and he obeyed. He heard, he listened, he trusted, and he obeyed. He demonstrated his faith. Again, James says faith without works is non-existent. A lot of folks running around doing stuff, dancing around, getting happy, and they ain't got a lick of faith, even though they say they got faith. How can you say that? Because their lives are a demonstration of it. They ain't trusting, and they ain't obeying him. What did he need Isaac to understand? That Abraham kept his commands. Whose commands? The Most High's commands. What did he need Isaac to understand? That Abraham kept his statutes. And tonight, and going through this study, we're not going to dig into these separate things: the voice, the mandate, the commands, the statutes, and instructions. We're not going to dig into those tonight. What you need to understand is that he listened and he did what he was told to do. What did he need Isaac to understand? That Abram kept his instructions. See, he's in the scripture, it's really broken down for us to see. There's a lot that we could dig into in verse number 5 alone and see if we are in alignment with Abraham, if we are serving the Most High in a manner that's pleasing in his sight. And because many are not as familiar with the Holy Christian Standard Bible, or may not like the Holy Christian Standard Bible, and may really be a King James only, that's the only word that they're going to follow, I'm going to read to you Genesis chapter 26 and verse number 5. From the King James Version that's sitting right over here to the left of me. It says, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge. A charge to keep I have. So the mandate and the charge are synonymous. There was a charge that was given unto Abraham. Do you have a charge today? Kept my commandments, kept my statutes, and kept my laws. Instructions and laws are synonymous. Directives and laws are synonymous. So Abraham kept my directive. I told him to stay, he stayed. I told him to go, he went. I told him to circumcise every male in his house, he circumcised him. See, we could dig a whole lot. But you need to get the point that if you're going to follow the faith of Abram, if you're going to follow the faith of Abraham, you're going to follow the faith of Isaac, you're going to follow the faith of Jacob, then you got to listen to the voice of the Most High. You got to keep the charge that the Most High has given unto you. You got to keep the commands of the Most High. You got to keep the statutes of the Most High, and you got to keep his law. Most of us will deal with Moses when it comes to the laws, but they won't deal with Abraham. They don't want to deal with Abraham. That means they don't want to deal with all the scriptures. We got to deal with the whole book. This is why we got to begin to open up the book. We got to let the book talk. But if our hearts and minds not available, the book ain't going to talk to us. The spirit ain't going to speak because you don't really want to know. There are a lot of folks that say they want to know, but they don't want to know. Abram stayed right where he was told to stay. The war was on. There was a famine in the land. And when there's a famine in the land, there's some folks that's hungry. When there's a famine in the land, there's some folks that's thirsty. When there's a famine in the land, folks don't know what they're going to eat tomorrow. They don't know what they're going to eat next week. They don't know how long the famine going to be. And when you got a family, Your flesh gonna start talking to you. Other folk gonna start talking to you. Hey, what we gonna do? What we gonna eat? Where we gonna get our water from? Ain't no water. The animals is dying. We hungry. We thirsty. You gotta trust and obey. Trust him and see what he tells you to do. And you do what he says do. Don't be concerned about what everybody else is doing. Because too many are listening to the world and they're not listening to the word. Too many are listening to the spirit of the world and they're not listening to the spirit from the Most High. Folks are focused on the world and they're not focused on living in eternity right now. So, my brothers and my sisters, Genesis chapter number 26, verse number 5, because Abraham listened to my voice and kept my mandate, my commandments, my statutes, and my instructions. Will you be like Abram? Will you be like Abraham? Will you be like Isaac and stay still? Will you be like Abraham and go if he tells you to go? Can you recognize his voice when he speaks? So I say to you tonight, husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. Children, honor your father and your mother. Let us be there for our elders. Let us be there for the orphans. Let us be there for the widows. Let us be there for the poor. Let us be there for those who do not have a voice, and let us be a voice for them. Let us not get caught up in the agendas of the world. Let's not get caught up in the right side or the left side. Let's not get caught up in the enemy confusing the world. Our scripture say, Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, deceives the whole world. People are under deception. And the scriptures say, if it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. You need to get this part because folks would say the elect would be deceived. That's not what the Messiah said. The Messiah said, if it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. If it were possible. See, nothing is impossible to him who believes and puts his trust and his obedience in the Most High. He will open your eyes that you may see. But you got to trust and obey. And you got to serve him with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your being. Love your neighbor as yourself. Bless those who have less than you with the capacity that you have. And don't let the enemy make you feel bad if it's above your capacity. Don't get caught up in the right. Don't get caught up in the left. Don't get caught up in the blue. Don't get caught up in the red. Serve the King with all your heart, mind, and soul. Prepare your house. The King is coming. Enjoy your night.